Hey YouTube, welcome back to UniXTCG, and for today's video, I want to talk a little bit about the meta going into regionals, because I think that there's like a really weird divide between online ladder and reality. And we have regionals coming up as soon as I think like next week or something like that. Another one I think? And then in less than a month we have two in California. So I think it's just a really good time to start talking about it. The main thing I'm going to go into, wait, pause, rewind that. If you like the video, and if you love the video, subscribe, join the UniX fam today, and maybe even check out my other channel, Universe X, which is mainly about Dragon Ball, but also about anime and stuff in general. Now, getting back to this point. Online, when you go online, you are finding a bunch of people that want to get up on the ladder as fast as possible. And what this is going to do is weed out decks that A, take 85 minutes per average game, Zamasu, or B, can spend the entire game playing one way and then still lose narrowly at the end, which is actually a very surprising amount of decks in this format, like most of yellow, in all honesty. No, jokes aside though, you're gonna have a very narrow line of plays that goes in. Aggro decks normally peter off because many decks have a strong mid game and a strong stabilization. So what you're looking for is very acute lines of play. You've got Super Boo, which is very aggressive, but still is kind of a mid-range deck. Even though it is aggressive, it has hand destruction in the best two ways. If you guys remember my Masters videos, if you guys have been on this channel for that long, remember Broly BR in red? Yeah, it has hand destruction in two ways. Beat the fire out of your opponent, and by effect. That is what Super Boo is essentially doing. You are beating the combo power out of your opponent's hand while also dropping it via effect. That's burning the candle at two different ends, and that ends up with your opponent with no cards in hand when you're hitting them with the fat 30k into double strike. Now, that deck will generally end games quicker than most other decks. And then you have a deck like Satan City, which is going to be able to amass a lot of advantage, punch you out. You got crazy Videl loops, you're swinging hard, 40s over and over again in the late game. And the thing about Satan City is that while most people would consider it almost tier 0, Satan City fits into a very particular vein in the way that you can win or lose against Satan City, and that is all determined before you even sit at the table. Your deck is either equipped to deal with their setup or it is not. And if it is not, congratulations, you're about to learn a hard lesson. But I digress. A lot of people think that those two decks are at the very top of the format, and I think they are both tier 1. I don't necessarily think they are both at the very tippity top of the format. Satan City inherently suffers from decks that can wipe its board multiple turns in a row. This is the -5s of red. This is the It's Overs of red. This is the secret rare that can eventually drop. Satan City struggles against those cards when they are played sequentially. Satan City can struggle against Gogeta, which can land multiple 10 times Kamehameha, sometimes back to back in the same turn, fam. Like, it is a lot. It is a lot. And, you know, you have inherent things. Zamasu has a pretty good matchup. The math is different. You're withstanding a lot of these neutral 20k pokes, and you're also playing blue too. So your engine, your recycling advantage engine, is often lining up with theirs. If you have cards like Zamasu in your deck to really handle those one-drops, you can get away with quite a lot. Meanwhile, you have Super Boo, which is more of a playstyle shift. Most decks, whether you know it or not, most decks can just not take their own life, control the board, and then push game to a point where Super Boo is sitting with, like, here's the thing, especially without the Do promo, the Do and Coup promo. Super Boo is not doing anything different than its turn 5, except with more cards. And if you keep removing their board while keeping your life fairly high, you're gonna start bottoming out on cards in hand, so that their discards aren't as meaningful. You have the cushion of a life, and then once you're at 4, 5, 6 energy, lots of decks are doing more per turn than Boo is. And Boo is also yellow, so I mean, you're spending the combo power to play cards, you're not really getting the combo power back. The thing is though, Boo does have a lot of pressure. It really does, it simply does. But it is not tier 0. Neither is Satan City. They are both extremely good decks, but the latter would have you feeling that those decks would be superior to most other decks. Then you wrap around to other decks that are being, in flux there, right? And once again, you have to look at what is in the format. You have those two decks closing out games pretty easily, having a pretty good rate of return, and then you have the decks that have come up to counter them. You build Jiren with enough minus, and he's going to be able to interact with Satan City's board while being able to hopefully brick wall Majin Buu. You have Gogeta, who once again will start to build up a board. He has board clear in the sense that he can recycle cards like 10 times Kamehameha. He's got cards like Para and Trash Talk and whatnot if you want to use them to help stop Majin Buu's cards from swinging over and over again. You're able to get these boards protected by Trunks and draw your butt off to have the combo power to survive. And you look at that. These decks are products of what the ladder is shaping into, and that is going to be a huge part. But when you get to actual regionals, nobody's going to care about Zamasu taking 25 minutes out of your 30-minute round if they feel like it's going to win every time they sit down at the table. And what this ends up doing is you end up having this meta where currently set 5 is probably, in terms of variance, in terms of how many decks can be played, the best format that we have ever had in this game. Set 1, since set 1, there's always been a color, sometimes even 2, that have felt like the odd man out. Set 1, it was blue. Set 2, I'd arguably say it was green. Set 3, it was kind of like a mixture because you had this weird triangle between blue into black, into green, into blue. So yellow and red kind of felt like the odd man out. And then you have set 4, where it was essentially, you have Android popping off, you have Baby popping off, you have, I think in that set, it was probably red. Daimo was strong, but red was probably, no, it was yellow. It was yellow, and then red was slightly above it. I think that green, blue, and black were just the strongest colors in set 4, and then you had red that could get some good matchups, but you could get edged out fairly often, nothing you can really do sometimes, and then you have yellow, who is just kind of in this weird, ugly spot last set. You could play Super Buu, correct, but you had to hope that you weren't going up against Turtle, Blue, even Red often got there against Super Buu last set, so you just kind of have that kind of deal. Now, moving into this format, you basically have a set that power crept offensive power, like no other set has done since set 2 with TOP Goku. You also have, in the same set, the whole entire format essentially shift to mid-range. Even your aggressive decks are not killing people on turn 3 or 4. They're killing people on turn 5, 6, maybe 7. Buu might be the most aggressive rushdown deck that we have in the meta, and it is still not killing you until mid-range turns. Same with Daimaku too. So realistically, and even Aggro Baby, you're not dying to Aggro Baby on turn 4. Not on turn 5 maybe. You're probably dying to Aggro Baby on turn 6 or so. So realistically, our format is a mid-range format, and you have to ride the balance because almost every single deck is mid-range that can go longer, or mid-range that can go a little faster. And every now and then you get a tempo deck, a deck that can play mid-range, can be aggressive, but can go a little longer. That is what you're looking at when you're playing Satan City. That's what you're looking at when you're playing Janemba. That's what you're looking at when you're playing Daimaku 2. That's what you're looking at when you're playing Baby. These decks have the ability to sit in that comfortable mid-range spot, or aggress, or play a little bit of a longer game. And then you have decks that are still within that mid-range value, but they still ball. Like, for instance, what's it called? Wow, I'm forgetting now. I'm so sorry. Nameku. There we go. And when you lean too far towards one end of that spectrum, that's where you get caught in matchup hell. When you're playing Zamasu and your only option is to wait till a late game, you have to control your opponent's board the entire time and hope that they don't ever put up an assault that's too fast for you to handle. Even playing Daimaku 2, I have given Zamasu games where it has had to spend 3 turns or so hitting me with removal. And if it has to spend 3 turns or so hitting me with removal, that means in the first 6-7 turns of the game, you only had 3 to 4 turns where you were actually playing things. And I'm not counting the first turn. Not really counting the second turn either. So if turn 1 and turn 2 aren't sickle turns, turn 3 is a sickle turn, turn 4 is a sickle turn, turn 5 involves a Gohan, you know, you're spending most of your turns just trying not to die, not trying to pressure me, and that allows me to get a fat hand, deflect some of your later swings. This is a problem, you know? That's a problem. When you're playing androids, as powerful as that deck gets, you can play androids and Baby, Satan, City, you know, like even Nameku, like you just have the utmost ease of just punching it in the face until it dies. It just is what it is. But the point I'm trying to get at is that there's a lot of valid decks because every color is valid in this set. You have to figure out your tech cards. You have to get down and figure out your matchups. But most importantly, the most important factor, weapon, tech in this format is format awareness. And that's not just going to come from one tier list. That's not just going to come from a singular day or two of testing. That's not going to come from your locals. You need to have your finger to the pulse of this format, because the format has so many good decks that a week can shift things. Every bit of information matters. There are going to be regionals happening in a week or less, and those regionals will be influenced by what people have seen from the Japanese locals, from what people have seen from the popular streamers, from what people have seen on the ladder, from what people have seen from Eggman's events. These are the things that are going to shape this. And once these regionals happen, that regionals turnout will affect what happens in California. There is no particular, like, tier lists do matter, because I'm not going to hold you. There is no realm where I'm playing another green deck in this format over Nameku. There is no realm where you can convince me that GT Goku and Bardock are better black leaders than Gogeta or Baby. There's no realm right now that you're going to convince me that Daimaku 1 and Daimaku 2 aren't the best red leaders right now. However, I will be playing Baby over Gogeta for certain reasons, and vice versa. I would be playing Daimaku 1 over Daimaku 2 for certain reasons, or vice versa. These are the things that have to be considered, and it's all going to depend on your format. So yeah, if you have multiple decks that you've been practicing with, bring them both to your regionals, you know? Wait until the last possible moment to put in your deck profile, unless you have already put in the testing to know. But even then, there are some times where I feel like you can go into an event, whether it be an ultimate battle, and you can look around the room and know this deck is good, but this deck is not good for this room. And I think that's going to be a major thing. Now, whether that is a healthy part of this format or a not healthy part of this format, I want you guys to let me know in the comments. Is this much viability good for the game? In terms of, you know, who can play what, how many people can play their favorite characters, you know, just the very freeness of the format? Or is it bad for competitive play when you could have a solid deck with solid testing and feel matchup roulette bad? I mean, 50-50 is pretty good. I think we need sideboards. I will always be a proprietor of sideboards, but I just personally feel like this format, the more and more I play it, the more and more I realize that, yeah, every color can pull out wins. And it is more important on how you're teching for other colors. I do think that yellow might be the worst color in the set. I'm not going to hold you. A lot of people were saying that was red. I think yellow is by far right now, not even by far, but I think yellow is by a slim margin is the worst color currently. And that could change. We just need to see an influx of certain things. So let's say tomorrow, everybody's playing blue. I think that at this point, Janemba could be an excellent pick. I think that being able to tap down your opponent's board, snipe cards, blow things up with Final Explosion, keep things tapped that have on-attack abilities, I think that is going to become a very, very strong thing if you have more blue in the format. But if your format is mostly, you know, like red, mostly black, I think yellow could have a very hard time. Yellow could have a very hard time. So it's just kind of one of those weird things. I've been playing a lot. I know right now, when I go to California, I will have Daimaku 2, Vegito, Nameku, Janemba, and Baby sleeved up, ready to practice, ready to go. But I will also be bringing the cards to play Daimaku 1, Zamasu. Nameku's probably the only one. I'm not switching off Nameku. I'm not gonna hold you. Janemba is probably going to be the one, but I will also be bringing the cards for Super Boo, and I will also be bringing the cards for Gogeta. That is crazy. That is 9 potential decks between 2 different regionals. Because I feel like they all have a time and a place. I just need to see what the meta shapes up in the next 2 weeks, and maybe I can narrow it down from there. But I do think that we are in a interesting meta, and I want to know your opinion on how it goes. Now, that's pretty much the end of my yapping for this video. This is very much so just me wanting to put out a discussion piece, talk to you guys. Not gonna have the normal, cards across the screen. I just wanted to talk to people that are competitive, that are grinding, and I want to know your thoughts as well. So thank you guys, and I will see you in the next